This awkward occurrence for awkward entertainment. So I'm going to be getting into John Colt Freeman and a few old articles from the Gabby Petito Laundrie case. Just a few old articles I've looked back on recently and thought I would talk about. Now, before we get into these two, I know you're wondering, who are these two lovely people in the middle of the screen? These two lovely people. Let's get into that. All right, number one. Number one is creator Humanimal. Humanimal. That's H-U-M Animal. She has an interesting video about narcissism in the Laundrie case that has to do with Mr. Laundrie and the Moab murders of Crystal Turner and Kaylin Scott. So you want to hear an interesting take on those two cases, go check out Miss Humanimal. And this is the legendary blues singer Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh. Now, he plays a character named Chet Hartwood. And recently, Chet Hartwood did an interview with Steve Berlatino. Well, Steve Berlatino's assistant. Now, you have to have a sense of humor to watch this interview. So if you have a sense of humor, go check him out. That's Matt Walsh and Miss Humanimal. Now, let's get into this video. So, John Colt Freeman was an escaped sex offender from Kansas. He made his way all the way to Kentucky, picked up a job. He also, some way, somehow, got a hold of a rifle, a shotgun, a motorcycle. So I'm going to get into his story and a little bit about the Laundrie case.
Somebody that was truly dangerous. This is John Colt, a dangerous sexual predator on the run for months. Seen in this video dancing in the same shirt as his wanted photo, thinking he was home free. Little did he know, he was about to get caught.
So Mr. Freeman escaped in June 2021. He was captured late September. He would have been in the area of these Moab girls, Crystal and Kaylin. He did own guns. There are no reports of Mr. Laundrie having ever had a gun with him on his trip in Utah. Mr. Colt Freeman also loved camping. He had two tents. One tent was similar to Gabby Petito's tent. As of now, there's no connection between the Moab murders or Gabby Petito murders involving John Colt Freeman, but he has an interesting story. So in this case, Mr. John Colt Freeman was helped by 3 employees at the mental health institution he was imprisoned at. He ended up doing time for breaking into a woman's house. He raped a woman. When police caught up to him, he assaulted the police. So he ended up doing time for that. Upon release, they told him, we cannot let you free because you are a danger to society. But let's get into this article. After his arrest, Colt posted photos of his campsite tent, motorcycle, an image of him posing with a shotgun. He also posted about his time living in Utah on August 21st, 2021. I just found this funny. I just found this article about him funny. According to a probable cause statement, Colt began working at the truck wagon store in Delhi on West Main Street in Torrey, Utah. So at this deli, he would live inside a shed next door. This deli had a shed. He would stay in the shed. His boss didn't mind. One of the employees he got real close to. He went to the employee's daughter's birthday. He spent the night at the employee's house. They did a lot of things together. Very strange. He was only on a run for less than 3 months. Maybe 3 months exact. And he made friends with this guy so fast. He was able to get guns, motorcycles, all this stuff. During his escape, Colt remained non-compliant with his Kansas sex offender registration. A check of the National Sex Offender Registry showed that Colt did not report his updated resident or location information that is required for sex offenders. Okay, the funny part is, why would an escaped convict report his whereabouts? I don't care if it was to his mom or anybody. Why would he report his whereabouts to a sex offender registry? Do you see the humor in this article wrote by mainstream media? Of course he didn't. Of course he wasn't gonna report where he was living at. He's an escapee. Like, just something funny I saw in this case. This is a picture of one of the women who helped him escape. There were a total of 3 that worked at the facility. I don't know what they were thinking. If they had they did have sexual relationships with this man. The first 2 did. I don't know about this lady. But they provided him with a fake ID badge. He cut his hair, his beard. They provided him with some regular clothes, and he walked out of the facility and hitchhiked with a civilian on the outside. It's very strange. It's just very strange how he can get these 3 women to do what he wants, sexually or not sexually. But when he was out free, before he was convicted, he raped a woman. But when he's in prison, he can easily just get 3 women to do what he willed them to do. Alright, let's continue. Anyway, all 3 have been arrested. They will be charged for helping him escape. Before I get into this, Mr. John Colt Freeman, besides knowing where he worked at, his other activity is not known as of yet. Like, there's been, besides the arrest made in this case, there's been no updates on what else he could have done while out on the run for those 3 months. And being in the Utah area, being at that married couple has been murdered, shot to death. Like, I don't think police are investigating if he committed any crimes while he was on a run. It's just very strange. Alright, let's get into some old news articles from the Brown Laundrie Gabby Petito case. Now, this is about the parents. Mainstream media painted the parents as suspects in this case. As suspects in hiding their son. And that speculation from mainstream media, those theories from mainstream media, trickled down to the public, and the public from there went on to make their own videos, their own speculations. It filled their mind. So this reads, very odd. Brown Laundrie parents have behaved strangely, and cops may use GPS to track their movements. Expert claims, quote unquote, some type of expert. This was written over 2 weeks ago. They never did track their car with a GPS. As of right now, the parents are said to be innocent and will not be charged. Jennifer Shin, a former director of the San Diego Police Department Crime Lab, told his son exclusively, I think Brown parents have exhibited very odd behavior. It appears they know where he is or where he last went. So the parents told police Mr. Laundrie went to the Carlton Reserve to hike. That's the last known whereabout of him they know. The Mustang was also found outside of the Carlton Reserve. Yet, people thought they were lying. Like, people thought they were just straight up lying. Of course, his body ended up being found at the Carlton Reserve, not too far from the car. Not very far. Was it 45 minutes away from the car? A little over half a mile? So, let's continue. Their home is fair game for searching, as it is any potential crime scene, and the alleged suspect lives there. Well, Mr. Laundrie stayed in a condo. According to Rose Davis, Mr. Laundrie and his girlfriend stayed at a condo paid by the Laundrie parents. Now, he may have visited his parents and lived there on and off just to spend a night, I guess. But his main residence was that condo. I'm kind of surprised mainstream media, at the time this article was written, I'm surprised they didn't know that. As if they didn't talk to Rose Davis. As if Rose Davis didn't let them know they actually lived in a condo. Like, they kept that from the public for weeks and weeks and weeks, that this couple did not live with the parents. And they let those protests go on and on and on and on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And it's still going on now. Even after Mr. Laundrie's body has been found exactly where the parents said he went. It does appear, the third paragraph, it does appear the parents were complicit in his disappearance, although we may never know. Let's continue. This is getting more into the parents. This is news clips I took before Mr. Laundrie was found. Before disappearing, the young traveler and his parents, Chris and Roberta, reportedly refused to cooperate with cops, who were desperately searching for Gabby after a road trip with Brian. Again, this is mainstream media narrative, making people think the parents are complicit in their son being missing or disappearing. Let's continue. His family has been slammed by mainstream media, aka the public. Not aka the public, but also the public. His family has been slammed by the public for not helping to search for Gabby, who was reported missing by her family days after Mr. Laundrie returned from the trip.
What's your name? Whitney.
All right. This was a so-called friend of Miss Petito's in Florida. I don't think she was actually a friend, because when we get into this video, she will say where she's from. But Miss Petito and Miss Laundrie are from New York. They went to high school in New York. This lady grew up in Florida, so there's no connection. I guess they just found some junkie and told the junkie to give an interview. But back to Mr. Laundrie's parents and how the media portrayed them as criminals, just straight up criminals, by saying or speculating or foreshadowing, not exactly foreshadowing, but the media themselves speculated that parents knew more than what they were saying. Even though the parents never kept quiet. They always talked to the lawyer, pushed statements through the lawyer. They may not have spoken to the Petitos when the Petitos came calling on September 9th. I got a report the first time the Petitos tried to call the Laundries was September 9th. 2 days later, they reported their daughter missing. So from August 27th to September 9th, August 27th was the last test Gabby sent. So from August 27th to September 9th, the parents never tried to contact the Laundries, which is suspicious in itself in this story. Almost 2 weeks go by. You don't even call the Laundries. All right, let's continue. You don't even call the Laundries to see where your daughter is at. Alright. The next videos will be about, well, the Petito Laundrie case. But this is a self-proclaimed friend of Gabby Petito. But let's get into this video. It's just funny. Just funny to me. She reminds me of Rose Davis.
Whitney Conaway. Do you think the parents are involved?
I think the parents are involved because parents, it's mom and dad instinct to protect your kids first. Well, you should protect the murderer.
Have you ever met Brian?
Yes, I have. I did not like him worth it.
Why?
Because as soon as I met him, I knew something was off. I knew something was off because I could read people like an open book. I don't have to know you. I can know you for 10 minutes. I'll know what you are. I'll know what you're like.
So
I knew he was toxic. I knew something was going on.
Do you live in the area here, in Northport?
I live in Port Charlotte, but she used to come and visit me in my house at Port Charlotte
So
when I
you,
lived with my mother.
you grew up with her?
Yes, I grew up with her.
So she stays in Port Charlotte. She says Gabby used to come visit her. You can't grow up with Gabby Petito if Gabby Petito went to high school in New York. But that's where she met Brian. Let's continue.
So pray for Gabby, justice for Gabby. Thank you for being out here.
Again, she's just out there with the protesters. I don't know why this dude tried to why he interviewed her at all. Like, anybody out there can say they knew Gabby. Like, come on.
Okay,
She thinks the parents were involved too. Alright, this is going to get into the theory from mainstream media that Mr. Laundrie could have been hiding in his parents' garden. So let's get into this. What is that? That 5x4 garden? He was in a bunker. That ridiculous notion that people should have known not to believe from the beginning. Like, who believes that? He was hiding in a bunker underground. Why would you believe that? Why? Why? No. The script is not that good in this story. They're not going to give a good script like that. That would be a good movie, but they're not going to give a good script like that. So let's get into this lady, talk about the parents hiding Brian.
tagged numerous times. Everyone wants to talk about the gardening. There's a hand in the Laundrie family garden. Okay, right here, she goes around. Now she pulls out a stem. See it? Right there's the shadow of it, the little leaf ding up. She pulls it, it flips back over. I'll play it again for you guys. It is like a stem and it, flips. Here you guys go. Okay. Walks around. There's it dangling this way. See it? There, a little curve. Flips back over the other way. This isn't in slow motion. It's curved around right here's the tip of it. Like a little leaf on the tip. Could be a weed, could be a plant. She pulls at it, it, boop, flips back over. Unless a hand is paper thin with a leaf on the end of it, I don't think it's a hand, guys.
Yeah, people thought that was a hand coming up out of the ground. Thought it was Mr. Laundrie's hand. That he was giving his parents something. It was very ridiculous. Trip down memory lane. Should be the name of this video, Trip Down Memory Lane. Let's get into the next slide. Now, this was a foreshadow. This was before him, as in Chris Laundrie and Alberta Laundrie, went out to help police search for their son. So the first time Mr. Laundrie went out to help look for his son was over 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks before his body was found. An article came out that stated Brian Laundrie's belongings might have been found. Y'all remember that? Police would bring a bunch of cars out to the Carlton Reserve. The helicopters would be flying. People did live streams. Increased police presence at the Carlton Reserve. Increased police presence at the Carlton Reserve. They did that so many times. Took the helicopter, took the news, did breaking news, but they never found anything. Until recently, and they found his body. But we remember this. Brian Laundrie's belongings might have been found for his father to identify, says ex-detective. It turns out Was it the lawyer who said something was found? Then the police came out and said nothing was found, no campsite was found. So this kind of foreshadowed what went down a few days ago in Brian Laundrie's body being found by the police and his parents, his belongings being found by the police and his parents. Okay. So this is over 2 weeks ago, the first time the dead went out. Chris was asked to point out any favorite spots that Brian may have used in the preserve. He said, although Chris and Roberta Laundrie provided this information verbally 3 weeks ago, it is now thought that the on-site assistance may be better. Chris Laundrie left the nature reserve around 1:45 p.m. to head home. There were no discoveries, but the effort was helpful to all. It all seems the water in the preserve is receding. It seems the water in the reserve is receding. This was over 2 weeks ago again, the first time Mr. Chris Laundrie helped search. And it took 2 weeks after that to find Brian Laundrie's body. It took 2 more weeks for the waters to recede even more. And certain areas are more accessible to the search, Berlatino, the lawyer, stated. Now, a canine handler came out and said it's kinda freaky, creepy that the cadaver dogs couldn't find Brian Laundrie's body. Even if it was underwater, it's kind of creepy, suspicious that the dog couldn't find his body. That just makes people think the parents are hiding something or the parents planted evidence. You can find the article on Google, but again, that just makes people think the parents planted evidence. When you come out and say it's kind of odd that the cadaver dogs didn't find the body, didn't smell the body underwater. One thing about the body, I read that if a body stays underwater long enough, the skin could just not melt off. The skin would just fall off the bones. I'm not too sure how true that is. I don't believe Mr. Laundrie's body was underwater long enough for the skin to just fall off because it was wet for so long. Let's continue.
Roughly.
This is getting into Rose Davis. And I forget why I put this video in here. I forget. Let's continue. Mr. Rose Davis. So Miss Rose Davis stated before Mr. Laundrie's body was found, she felt Mr. Laundrie would come and try to hurt her. Like, I feel afraid for my life. I think he's coming to hurt me. They stayed in the condo that the Laundrie parents paid for. They never stayed at the house. He was never coming to hurt her. He was dead. He's been dead for weeks and weeks. Let's continue.
2 years ago, I got a message on Bumble for friends, and it was, you seem so cool. I want to.
So now I know why I put this in here. The next video, which is the last 2 videos, will be about Rose Davis and Gabby Petito. Then I will end this out.
Be your friend. Can we be friends? And I was like, of course. And from there, we started hanging out every day. And it's kind of weird to say I met her on Bumble for friends. People always laughed at us for that. But hey, glad she came into my life. I don't think I do.
Alright, this is a video released on TikTok, I believe, by Rose Davis. This is a video of them two hanging out, just intoxicated, high. It's very high. The toxicology reports in Miss Petito's case has not been released, I believe, because everyone calls her America's daughter. America's daughter. The white girl is America's daughter. I believe the toxicology report hasn't came out because they don't want people to know she probably was on drugs. Even though marijuana It's legal in a bunch of states recreationally. And in some states, you can have a certain amount of heroin on you, and you will only get a court summons. So, the war on drugs is now do all the drugs you want. But again, Miss Petito, Miss Davis, at her house, having a good time.
So are you like worried that I'm going through something? Because this is for flaking. I was trying to say for that I got this stuff for you, for me, for you. I mean, this is making me feel better. You're getting me riled up right now. I also got you.
All right.
This was some.
That is really it for these people, for this video, people. So let me recap. John Colt Freeman escaped from a mental institution in late June. He was captured late September. He traveled from Kansas to Utah. It's very possible he came across the murdered Moab couple, Crystal Turner and Kaylin Scott. He was in possession of a rifle, a shotgun, and he loved to count. So far, no word from police on all the activities Mr. John Colt Freeman partaked in when he was free. Like, no sign of an investigation of John Colt Freeman if he committed any crimes while out on the loose. He was 3 employees at the mental institution he escaped from has been arrested, charged, all female, that he somehow coerced, talked into helping him escape. They also had sexual relations while he was locked up in that mental institution. Like, wow, unbelievable story. All right. Anything else? Mainstream media. Speculation that the parents had something to do with Brian Laundrie being missing. Speculation they were helping him hide was first stated by mainstream media weeks and weeks ago. And the public picked up on it, and those in the public who believed the parents had something to do with it believed it. Those who didn't did it. But we seen the articles. Mr. Laundrie hid in their parents' garden inside of a doomsday bunker. All right. That's pretty much it for the recap. Anything else? No, not really. Just go check out Chet Harwood. Before I finish, go check out Mr. Chet Harwood at Matt Walsh Music and the lovely Humanimal. If you can't read her handle, lovely Humanimal. And I am going to end this video out. This has been Awkward Occurrence, Awkward Entertainment, and I will see you in the next video.